I'm gonna do a little walk around of my 2022 Model Y 7-seater. I had taken delivery of this, I think it was September 28th or so. They did have it ready and all that fun stuff a few days earlier, so I'm assuming that the production date was somewhere in the I'm gonna say mid-September. I never know what other things happen after they finish building it out, but it does have a September manufacture date on the sticker on the door. Um, I did do just a few minor things to it. I did get the trunk opener. I feel like that was something that was going to be very useful for me personally, because I do have the 7 configuration, and sometimes I will need to use that third row. That I just did need easier and more convenient access to the trunk, or the front trunk, and not have to worry about pushing down on it and having some, if one of the kids are trying to close it, something, I don't know, bending the hood. Convenient. This is bigger than the 3 frunk for sure. I use these when I go grocery shopping, and this wasn't something that I could fit very easily in that frunk, but this one fits perfectly fine. So it is a bit deeper, it is a little bit wider, and the size of it itself can hold, one of those roll-on carry-on bags. So a good amount of space, worthwhile for that. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and close that up. One thing that I ended up getting with my car, which wasn't something I was expecting, and I wasn't quite sure if that was expected either, but they had installed the rocker, I think it's called the rocker panel, but they had installed that PPF on this section of the doors. So because I had actually installed my own, I ended up taking it off, but that was quite a surprise. And I feel like part of that was because, during transportation, they wouldn't have to deal with any of those kind of damage. But the thing that is a little bit different with this model versus a couple of different models is they do have the carpeted. This feels a little bit thicker than what Velcro would feel like. It's just a teensy bit thicker. I think it's good for noise, kind of noise dampening, but from a cleaning perspective, it's not all that helpful. One thing I did do right away though is I put in all of the 3D mats in here. So that I think also helps with some noise dampening as well. As you can see, I did some of the vinyl touches there, but this is how my seat is configured, because I try to configure it in such a way where it'll have enough space for using all 3 rows. I do have my seat a little bit further, maybe just a teensy bit further up than I might have had it in either a 3, or maybe how I would have it if I didn't have to worry at all with legroom in the back, but it's still perfectly comfortable for me. The Y seating is a bit higher up too, so it's just in terms of leg room, because you have a little bit more vertical space for your legs there, and how the seat is higher up. That's where pushing it in actually feels a little bit more comfortable, at least for me, as opposed to in the 3 where your seat is automatically lower. I tended to have it sit a little bit farther back. Coming into the second row, this was something I think that they had changed out into being carpet as well. I think this used to be plastic. Same thing. I think it's fine for noise dampening purposes, but from a cleaning perspective, I think that's going to be kind of a hard thing. I haven't yet actually done, a vacuum or any kind of a cleaning on this one, having it for just a little bit under 2 months, and I don't know what this is, but this is some kind of liquidy thing that got kind of in there, so it's going to be a little bit more harder to clean those areas. I'm hoping that there might be something aftermarket eventually somebody's going to come up with to kind of cover that a bit more, so it's easier to keep clean. Yeah, so like I said, I got the floor mats in there relatively quickly when I did get it. I did end up also getting the same style of mats for the back of the seats. I figured because the back of these seats are very similar They're not exactly the same to the type of material that's down here or in the cup holder areas or the side pocket areas, but this I would have felt like the same thing would have been happening, where, you know, kids put their feet up or they kick it or whatever. It would be kind of hard to keep clean. So I did end up getting these mats, as well as the third row mats as well. Let's see, go back, and then going into the trunk area. So I'll just check in. So with all the seats in the current configuration, what I did notice though is if you do adjust where the second row is from a front to back perspective, there's a lever in the bottom, down here. There's that lever, you know, similar to any other kind of car that has that manual front and back. Once you set it to the front position, it stays in that location. You can push it back, but typically what I have found when I mess with, you know, opening up the seats to get into the back, it keeps the position that you've set it to. Say if you want to move it forward so you have more legroom, this is actually not the default legroom setting if you get into there the first time and you don't mess with the manual front and back setting. But you can, I mean, you can always change that as well. So that's one thing. Show relish. I'm kind of curious because I'm not quite sure if this is actually on a newer thing. I hadn't noticed before if they had done the stitching, but that's actually quite nice. And then this is all the same kind of material that they have in the pockets. See how easy it is to open this or not, but you're supposed to just kind of one push and then push up. I've noticed that sometimes it doesn't always behave that way, but yeah, once you do that, it kind of keeps your distance so that that doesn't like totally crush the legs of the person behind you. The teensy itty bitty window, and then yeah, my head does hit the glass, but as you can see, a little one. Hi. Can sit there pretty comfortably. Lots of leg room for that one, but it's a tiny little window they can't see. It's a baby. And then looking from her perspective,
I can't see it.
You can't look out the window, and that's what you see. One thing that I'll show is I feel like in some of the videos, sorry if I black that out. So the whatever the sub trunk cover thing is, it's not as high. So I was seeing with others, what they had done was they had made it where you can flip it over, right, and you can get more room. But this doesn't make any difference. Like, you don't get any extra room here. So they actually, I feel like they've actually changed this sub trunk cover. And I think they also had put this kind of a lip thing here to make it more flat. Like, I guess maybe the design or the assumption was that you're probably not going to flip it over that much, so you might as well just have the deepness in the sub trunk, as opposed to, you know, pretending like you flip this over and you get more space vertically above it. So I think that is a change, at least maybe from the 20, you know, whenever version that they started to offer the third row seating, and then they do have that little notch there. As you can see, I kind of left it there just to show that when you're needing to get into the sub trunk, you don't have to like hold it up while you're trying to put something down below. I feel like the sub trunk is actually bigger than the Model 3 sub trunk as well. As you can see, I did get that 3D mat for down here, because it is harder to keep this one clean. This one is not thick at all. It's like a very thin, I don't know, it feels like you just like glue fibers to it. So that's the same fabric that's all the way around here. And I think it's similar to inside here, but I did get those bins, so I'll make you guys see the stuff that I have in the side compartments. There are these bins that you can get aftermarket as well, but I think they slightly changed the size of these cubbies because they do have the lids, and the lids don't it's not the easiest thing to get in there. So I feel like this configuration has changed, and I think some of it does have to do with this lip here, but I can get it to, for the most part it works pretty well, just to keep things kind of level. Quite a bit of space in these two cubbies. I have a bunch of stuff actually in both of them, for you know, just when I go shopping, all that stuff. I have extra towel in there. It goes down quite a bit. Let's see, with the bin thing that I do have in there, I mean, it goes probably, I want to say like 8 inches or so, at least 8 inches, if not more than that, back there. Let's see. Okay, so trunk. So I thought that because it's a bigger vehicle, it's appeared to be a bigger trunk. Now granted, you know, if I didn't have the third row, then it is obviously a huge trunk, but I am a bit disappointed that I can't fit my shopping bins in the trunk as is. So if I do have that third row up, this will not close. From the bottom it will, but as you can see, it's far away from it being able to fit. In fact, it also has to not only account for, you know, like if you're looking at it from sideways, not only does it have to account for this tip of it too, but it also has to deal with that much of a thickness, you know, of this panel here, right? That's, I mean, it's a good like 2.5, 3 inches thickness. So it does take away from the trunk space of the car. Now, the thing with this is when I do end up, you know, doing my Costco runs, or, you know, whatever my grocery runs is, I do have to put it back probably about at least here, in order for, you know, all of this clearance to be able to have this in here and be able to close the trunk, as opposed to, oh, maybe I can get away with it being there. Nope. You need to factor in a little bit more of a buffer, because it's basically gonna stick out. I don't know if you can see that. It's gonna stick out. You have to have that clearance all the way out to here, because that's where the panel on the lift gate comes out to. So a bit of a downer, but I'll be honest, in my situation, usually it's just like me and one of my daughters that goes grocery shopping, so not that big of a deal. But we'll see how that pans out when parents come to visit. We go pick them up from the airport, right? We got luggage to deal with, in addition to people usually want to come greet them and stuff like that. So we'll see how that works out. On the flip side though, for the most part, this thing actually does end up fitting in a sub trunk. So that is an alternative there. It's just a little bit more challenging to get out. The way that these mats are set up, where it kind of takes away that space to be able to have the cover to be able to sit in that little groove. So that makes it a little bit difficult to get in and out of it. But it is, you know, if you got some help, you can definitely get something like this crate here under there. And there you go. Okay, so this is the tail or the trunk light as lit. So most of the light actually does point down to here, but I'll show you here. I mean, it's a pretty decent amount of light. I don't think you would need to get one of those light enhancers for that. And again, that light is up there. Decent amount. I don't think you really need it to be all that more bright. The other thing I was surprised about having them include was actually the front mud flaps was something that was included with mine. That is my walkthrough of my 2022 Model Y 7-seater. If you liked the video, I appreciate a thumbs up, subscribe, and thanks for watching. Hope everybody has a great day.